This is 7 Minutes Cyber with Danny Lawler of Quest and myself, Sam Glynn of Code in Motion. And the 7 minutes start now.
So Sam, a little while ago, towards the start of the cyber lock, I beg your pardon, the COVID lockdown, we talked about how this move to more people using remote access might cause some vulnerabilities in your defenses against cyber attacks. Now, interestingly, this week there's been some data published by a cyber insurance firm where they've identified that 41% of the claims that they see are related to ransomware, 27% to fund transfer losses, and 19% to business email being interrupted. And they've also said that the vectors for that, for those intrusions, are 54% by email and 29% through remote access. So fairly stark numbers there. It seems that what we kind of said might happen in terms of remote working being a vulnerability seems to be playing out.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it, a lot of what's happening in the first half of this year is just a continuation of where things were going. So if you kind of think of it in simple terms, access into your systems, there's a front door and there's a back door, and the front door is email. So a key part, and we might have talked about this in the past, was about the importance of your staff as part of your security defenses. Because if a staff member receives a ransomware email or an email that has a link on it, they click the link, it downloads something, and that kicks off the chain of events, which will lead to a ransomware infection, then the key thing is to help your staff understand what to look for, what to watch out for. So that's the front door. That's the business email compromise bit, or the email as an attack vector.
And are you surprised that the number is 54%? Like, I thought everybody knew not to click links in emails from people that you're, from sources that you're not familiar with. It seems such a basic day one piece of cyber training, and yet it's 54% of the attacks come through the emails.
Yeah, it is high. And it doesn't, what they don't tell you is the range of firms that we're talking about here. But at the same time, the emails are getting better. They're getting much more targeted. So it's no longer just this kind of random text that everybody gets. In some cases, they will have done a bit of research around who the person is, who they interact with, who their suppliers are. So it can be an email that says, your password has expired, click here, you click on it. It goes to a page that looks exactly like the page that you usually use. Or it's apparently an invoice, or what we've seen lately for those who use Skype for voicemail, an email that looks like it's a voicemail message. And you click on what you think is an MP3 file, but it's actually a web page which automatically downloads something and off things run. So it does seem high, but having said that, if you get, even with someone who has been trained, if you get them at the wrong time, with the right kind of message, there's still a chance that they'll fall victim to it.
So it sounds to me like if, for example, cyber training is one of your key defenses as a firm against an email-based attack, then maybe it's time to look again at and revisit your training, just so that your staff know that the stuff maybe you told them 2 years ago about how these emails present, maybe that needs to be updated, because as the attackers get more sophisticated, and you said the emails are more targeted and more realistic, you again just need to re-emphasize to be on it.
Yeah, I mean, like never underestimate the value of a near miss. So, in firms, get people to be open about, I've just received this mail, because a lot of firms have a way to report suspicious emails, or have a contact person that they can contact and say, I've just received this email, is this dodgy? And if it is, use that as an educational tool. So, take a screenshot of the mail, make it safe, but then distribute it to the staff and say, we've just got this dodgy mail. If you see the same, add this to the list of mails that you will not interact with. Because if one has come in, there's likelihood that there'll be 3 or 4 or 300 others within the same firm. So if someone has had the wherewithal to say, this is dodgy, make sure everyone else can learn from that.
And I guess it keeps the message alive and shows everybody in the firm that this is real. We just got this email today. This is
exactly
theoretical.
Yeah.
Backdoor and other ways that cyber criminals can try and access a firm through.
Yeah. So ransomware used to, pretty much 100% of the time came through these emails, and firms learned, and, we all adapted, and we put more measures in place. We improved staff defenses. We put, restrictions around who has administrator access, things that would stop these things from running and causing damage. So what the criminals are doing now is looking at the other doorways into the organization. And a good doorway in is what they call RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, which is a techie term for the back door that the IT guys use to be able to maintain the servers that all the data is on. So rather than trying to come through the front door where the staff have been trained, they're now coming around to the back door and trying the locks on the back door. And not a lot of people are aware of the back door, and the controls around the back door may not be as highly monitored. If they get in that doorway, then all bets are off, because if they've got in there, it may be a case that they also have all the privileges that the IT guy has, which means that there's very few restrictions over what they can do. And all that will happen without any human interaction from the firm.
And what is it that firms can do then to protect themselves?
Look for the front doors and the back doors. So on the front doors, who opens the front door, make sure they understand how, when they should keep that door closed. And look at the back doors. Look at how the IT people are managing the environment. If they're using RDP or other remote access tools, make sure there's controls around those, and make sure there are detective measures in place so that if something is used or accessed, that something goes off, a warning goes off to say somebody's logged in here, and someone can take a look at that and say, well, is that suspicious or not? A lot of these ransomware guys now are not rushing to infect the firm. They're getting into the firm, waiting to see, who are we in with? What did they do? Where's the value? There's 1 minute left. Where's the value in the firm? How can we wipe out their defenses? How can we wipe out their backups? So they can linger a bit longer than would have been the case in the past. The advantage of them lingering is they can increase the value of the attack and look for a bigger ransom. But because they're lingering for longer, it might, if you have the right plan, it might give you the opportunity to prevent the unimaginable from happening.
Yeah. I guess key messages then, Sam. I think from my side, probably two takeaways I have. One is, if you as a firm have not revisited cyber with your staff, having deployed remote working, get to it. It's time, because these remote the attackers are quite sophisticated. You need to be ahead of it. And number two, check that you do have cyber insurance, or that your current PI or whatever insurance policy that you have covers you for ransom attacks or fund transfer losses, because this is something that happens all the time. So you need to be protected.
Absolutely. And then my one is just look for the back doors. Look for all the doorways in, not just the obvious ones.
There's 7 minutes. Thanks.
Good God, we actually hit 7 minutes. Right. Thanks, Danny. That was great.